Sports Page Online, a small local sports show in New Britain, Connecticut, started with humble beginnings. But it didn't last long. Its popularity grew like wildfire, with celebrities like The Miz, Carl Pavano, Phil Hughes, Maya Moore, and Kemba Walker gracing its airwaves. The worldwide phenomenon was not lost on the show's cast and crew, as the tandem of 5 sports reporters quickly let the success get to their heads. But they fell as quickly as they rose. Currently under investigation by the NCAA, this sports franchise has experienced all that success and later failure has to offer. This is what happens when Sports Page Online goes offline. This is the true Hollywood story, SPO. Sports editor Matt Straub grew up in Plainville, Connecticut, one of the most boring places to live in Connecticut. So it's no surprise that he loved 2 things in his life, sports and soda. But as the show reached more and more success, Matt's soft drink habit became a 30-gallon-a-week addiction and created rifts between the cast and crew.
You know, I never thought Matt's soda consumption was a big deal until we ate at Subway one day. We both got a couple of footlongs, we both got a couple of sodas, we're swinging them back like normal. But Matt at one point left the table for about 5 minutes. I had no idea what was going on until I heard screaming at the top of the lungs. I didn't know who it was coming from. I thought Matt might be in trouble. I turned around, Matt was under the soda machine sucking the last drops of Dr. Pepper Dry. I didn't know what was going on. The guy at the Subway counter was yelling at Matt, and Matt just kept on turning back and saying, "There's not enough soda! There's not enough soda! There's not enough."
One day I was sick and I had to stay home from Sports Page Online. So Matt came with some chicken noodle soup to make me feel better. But when he gave it to me, it was just Sprite, chicken, and noodles. Do you have any idea what Sprite feels like on a sore throat? I had to go to the hospital. And the whole time that we were driving there, he just kept calling me a lightweight, and he chugged the whole thing in 2 seconds. And then he threw it at me.
I don't think there's anything wrong with having 40, 50 sodas in a day. You know, it makes me a little crazy, I get a little hyper, but that's all right. I'm switching to diet, I'm a little calmed down. Just because these guys can't handle it doesn't mean I have a problem, all right? They're wusses, I'm a man.
Eventually, he went into rehab, unbeknownst to SPO's loyal viewers. He came back and was welcomed back by his peers. However, the crew parodied the sitcom Full House, and Straub hit rock bottom.
I don't know what it was. He just kept drinking and drinking. He must have set a world record for sodas that day. It was ugly.
Soon after, Straub went wild, letting his soda addiction lead him on a wild ride, eventually resulting in an NCAA investigation. The lovable executive editor and leader of the SPO crew, the success of Sports Page Online sent Carroll on a wild ride himself. The anger of the Final Rant, the love of his beloved Snowy, his love-hate relationship with Anthony Delicalci, and everything in between.
We're in a jolly good green forest right now, aren't we?
Carroll soon developed multiple personality disorder. It was hard to know which Brad Carroll would show up for work each day. The disorder reached a climax following the conclusion of Operation Epic, when Carroll went on a rampage both on-screen and off.
Sometimes I think he really needs to be in an institution.
Canadian-born Evan Macy was sent by Canadian Parliament to learn more about American sports and help to get more hockey coverage into the Connecticut media. However, Evan soon fell in love with his newly adopted country, and after making friends with the SPO crew, he was allowed to remain on air, despite it violating the NCAA's code of conduct.
I always knew there was something weird about him. He just didn't seem like the rest of us. Always wanting to go into the refrigerator.
Because of their recklessness, Macy is on a race against the clock to gain American citizenship before it spells the end of SPO. Joseph Fortunato had a privileged upbringing in Long Island, but the success of SPO was too much for him to handle. Fortunato would routinely leave the office with supplies, equipment, and anything he could get his hands on. Petty crime, assault and battery, and needless theft became his only outlet.
Joe never effectively stole anything from me, but when Chris Ritchie used to work here, he did a number on him. It got ugly.
I've never met Joe's father, but I'm sure he'd be disappointed in the choices he's made.
Eventually, his new life of crime spelled danger to this thriving show.
You know, everybody tells me I have an addiction, but I really don't think I have an addiction. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't get paid a lot to be here, so sometimes I borrow things that I need with the full intent to give them back to their rightful owners when I'm done with them.
Anthony Delicalci, a.k.a. the half-news, half-sports boy, a.k.a. the dainty messiah, has always brought an energy and excitement to the SPO stage. But quickly into the show's first season, he began to rift with the show's star and producer, Brad Carroll.
Anthony's mom was a very nice lady. I met her in Vietnam, and we had one glorious night. But things went sour soon, and she left the country, and I don't know. Anthony grew up by himself. You could actually see that he doesn't really have the features that I have, thank God. And Anthony was a great human being, and he's been a great son to me.
Well, he definitely had some crazy mood changes, but nothing was worse than when we would have conversations. He would just be staring at us through the window. I think that he really thought that we were trying to hurt him, but I would never hurt Brad. I'm too scared of him.
Carroll began to injure and pummel the Virginia Tech alum, oftentimes for no reason, and it took its toll on Delicalci.
Every man has a line he won't cross. Brad pushed me over that line.
After he filed a restraining order at Carroll and filed suit, the NCAA got wind of the conflict and quickly began to investigate misdoings on the show. Only time will tell if Sports Page Online is finished forever. The NCAA will come down with their ruling in the coming days, and then we'll know for sure the fate of the show. But as of now, the team is coming back together, trying to mend fences. The only question that remains is whether or not they will allow Anthony Delicalci back into the mix. One thing that is certain is that Sports Page Online left its mark in the world of sports internet journalism.
With all the attention given to the UConn Huskies, and rightfully so, they're the national champions, a lot of Connecticut high school players get lost if they don't attend the University of Connecticut. One of those players is Torrington's Jordan Williams, who played for the University of Maryland, and recently he got the call of his life as he was drafted by the National Basketball Association. Matt, you talked with him for SPO.
Exactly, and he's very excited. There isn't an NBA team in Hartford, but going to the New Jersey Nets could be the next best thing for Williams, who's happy to be playing close to home.
I worked my whole life to try to accomplish that one goal, and for it to come true so soon, I never thought it happened so soon, and it was just a great feeling, great feeling. Right around the corner, so that's not bad at all, not bad at all. I got a good deal out of it.
Just as Charlotte Bobcats guard Kemba Walker told us last week, Jordan Williams equally concerned about the NBA lockout. Matt, does he think there's going to be a season?
I think he seemed a little more optimistic than Kemba did a week ago, but as you'll hear, nobody knows what's going to happen in this situation, including the players themselves.
I stay as as updated as I can with all that stuff. It's definitely it's not really pretty right now, but hopefully they get smoothed out soon. So I'm trying to play.
We're hopefully all going to get to see Jordan Williams play basketball for the New Jersey Nets very soon.
But you'll definitely get to see Joe and Evan at the desk right now.
Although Hurricane Irene pushed back the scheduled Jets-Giants game, there were still some local NFL players in action this weekend.
Well, it was the hurricane that pushed the game back, but it was actually a tropical storm that landed in the area. Nonetheless, let's check in with our local guys.
Nico Kudavides continued his red-hot start to the preseason with 2 tackles, including a sack. It was the second straight week that Kudavides recorded a sack, although the Patriots did lose big to the Lions.
Another bright spot in that huge loss to the Lions was Aaron Hernandez, who caught 5 passes for 46 yards. He's in a battle to get the tight end job, and he proved to be a good target for Tom Brady.
David Reed hopes to play a big part in the Ravens' wide receiving corps this season, but he had a rough patch in Week 3 when he only had 1 catch for 9 yards. The Ravens did win the game against the Redskins.
The Jets and Giants finally gave in, and they postponed their game due to weather from this weekend, and it will take place tonight at 7 p.m. It's a preview of a game the two teams will play later in the year on Christmas Eve. Now here's Brad with the final rant.
I got to admit, the Jets-Giants preseason game isn't as exciting as it usually is. Yeah, last year was great with Eli Manning almost dying on the field. But this year, even though there's trash talk and the rivalry is being talked about, it's just not the same. And that's for one simple reason. The two teams are going to play on Christmas Eve, which is all the better. I can't have it any other way, but it's going to ruin my excitement for the game tonight. Still, it's going to become Christmas Eve. It's going to be one hell of a time. That's the final take, and that's the final rant here on Sports Page Online.